The rain had come hard through the night, hammering the roof of the small ranch house until the ground outside turned into mud. Jonas hadn't slept much. Men like him rarely did anymore. He sat on the edge of his bed, boots still on, staring at the shotgun leaned against the wall. Sometimes, the quiet was louder than any storm. It was just before dawn when he heard it. A sound at the door. Not a knock exactly. More like someone testing if the world might open for them. Jonas stood slow, muscles stiff from years of hard work and harder fights. He lifted the shotgun, thumb brushing the worn steel, and opened the door. The sight froze him in place. A woman. Thin, soaked to the bone, her dress clinging like a second skin. Her hair hung in knots across her face, and her bare feet were caked with blood and dirt. She held a blanket around herself, trembling, though her eyes didn't shake. They were hollow, burned out, like she had already left something of herself behind. Jonas didn't ask her name. He just stepped aside. She lingered on the threshold for a heartbeat, then staggered inside. He closed the door behind her, the sound echoing like the closing of a cell. She stood there dripping water onto his floorboards. Jonas grabbed his coat from the peg and draped it across her shoulders. For a moment, her fingers touched his, cold as death. She whispered something then, so faint it almost broke apart in the air. "I'm not worth saving." Jonas looked at her, really looked, and saw the bruises along her neck, the red mark across her jaw, the way she held herself like every rib was cracked. He set the shotgun down and spoke quiet. "Sit. By the fire." She shook her head, clutching the blanket tighter. "You don't understand. If you help me, they'll come. And when they come, you won't stop them. Nobody stops them." Jonas crouched by the hearth, striking a match. The flame caught, small, stubborn against the wet air. He didn't answer her, not yet. Some truths weren't worth arguing with. Instead, he poured her a tin cup of water and set it by the fire. She watched it like a starving dog staring at meat, then reached with trembling hands. Hours passed in silence, save for the crackle of firewood and the distant drip of rain. She didn't sleep. Neither did Jonas. Finally, as the sky outside turned from black to gray, she spoke again. "They'll be looking already. Men with horses. Guns. They won't stop until they find me." Jonas leaned back in his chair, arms crossed, eyes steady on her. "Then let 'em come." Her lips pressed tight, like she wanted to laugh but had forgotten how. She pulled the blanket tighter, whispering more to herself than to him. "You don't know what kind of men they are." Jonas stared at the fire. "I know enough." By mid-morning, the dogs started barking low. Not wild, not panicked, just warning. Jonas stood, shotgun in hand, and stepped out onto the porch. The air was damp, the earth still soft with mud. And there he was, riding hard down the trail, dust and mist trailing behind. A man in black, broad shoulders, hat pulled low. His horse was lathered, hooves striking like thunder. The rider pulled up sharp, eyes cold, jaw set. He carried a revolver on his hip, worn from too much use. He looked Jonas over, like measuring whether to talk or draw. Finally he spoke. "Morning. Saw a girl pass through. Barefoot, hair wild. Might have stopped here." Jonas squinted, slow as if the sun itself was in his eyes. "Girl? You think I run some kind of boarding house?" The man's jaw tightened. "She belongs to Mr. Caro. Ran off last night. She's his wife now. Papers signed and sealed. I'm here to bring her home." Jonas didn't move, didn't blink. She looked more like a prisoner than a wife. The man's eyes narrowed. "Careful, friend. Caro don't take kindly to thieves. You keep a woman that ain't yours, makes you worse than her." Jonas spat into the dirt. "Man beats on what's his, that don't make it his. Makes him less of one." The rider's hand twitched near his gun, but not enough to finish it. Instead, he tipped his hat, though the smile under it was pure venom. "Suit yourself. But when Caro comes, he won't be knockin'. And he don't miss twice." He turned his horse and rode off, leaving mud and silence in his wake. Jonas stood for a long moment before stepping back inside. She was watching from the shadows, her eyes locked on him. "They'll kill you," she said. Jonas set the shotgun back against the wall. "Not the first who's tried." She didn't argue. Instead, she lowered herself onto the chair by the fire, arms wrapped around her knees, whispering again. "I'm not worth saving." Jonas looked at her, his voice low but steady. "That ain't your choice to make." The day stretched long. Jonas went about his work, mending the fence, checking the horses, hauling water, while she stayed close to the fire. Sometimes she watched him, sometimes she didn't. By evening, she stepped out onto the porch, still wearing his coat. She leaned against the post, face half hidden by the shadows. "You don't even know my name." Jonas tightened the last rope on the gate, then glanced at her. "Names don't change what's right." She looked away, biting her lip like she wanted to believe him but couldn't. "My father sold me," she whispered. "Caro won me over cards. That's what I'm worth." Jonas' hands stilled. He walked slow back toward the porch, each step measured. He stopped in front of her, eyes hard, voice low. "Don't mistake what some man said for truth. You ain't a debt. You ain't a prize. And you damn sure ain't his." For the first time, she blinked fast, like holding back tears. But before the silence could settle, the dogs barked again, harder this time. Jonas looked to the horizon. 3 riders. Dust rising. The storm was coming. He loaded the rifle. She gripped the blanket tighter, whispering, "Don't do this. Please. You can still send me out. Maybe they'll let you live." Jonas shook his head. "Ain't in me." The sun was dipping low when the riders reached the yard. Caro rode at the front, slick suit, gloves too clean for the dirt he carried inside him. 2 men flanked him, both carrying iron, both looking eager. Caro dismounted slow, smiling like a snake. "Heard you been keeping my wife, Macready." Jonas stepped off the porch, rifle in hand. "Heard you been beating what ain't yours to touch." Caro's smile dropped. His eyes darkened. "That girl belongs to me. Law says so." Jonas' voice was calm, steady as stone. "Law don't mean a damn thing without a soul to back it." The goons moved first. They always do. One rushed left. Jonas swung the rifle stock, cracking bone and dropping him cold. The other drew fast, but Jonas was faster. One shot rang out, sharp as thunder, and the man hit the dirt hard. Caro froze, pale now, breath heavy. Jonas stepped close, rifle aimed steady. "You listen to me, Caro. This dirt don't belong to you. That girl don't belong to you. You set foot here again, I'll put you in the ground where you stand." Caro's lip curled, but he didn't speak. He backed toward his horse, mounting with stiff movements. His eyes burned with promises he didn't dare say out loud. Then he turned and rode off into the dark. The yard fell quiet. Smoke from the rifle hung in the air. Jonas lowered the gun, turning back toward the porch. She was standing there, no longer trembling. Her eyes locked on him, searching, maybe hoping. He set the rifle aside, pulled off his hat, and nodded toward her. "You're safe now." For a long time, neither spoke. The wind picked up, carrying the smell of gunpowder and rain. Finally, she stepped forward, voice soft but firm. "Why? Why would you risk your life for me?" Jonas looked at her, his voice rough but steady. "Because somebody had to." Weeks passed. Caro never came back. The ranch settled into quiet again. She stayed, helped with chores, mended fences, fed the horses. Slowly, the bruises faded. Slowly, the silence between them turned into something else. One morning, Jonas found her sitting by the window, sunlight spilling across her face. She touched her stomach, eyes distant. He understood before she spoke. "It's his," she whispered. Jonas said nothing at first. He sat across from her, hands folded. "What do I do?" she asked, voice breaking. Jonas looked out the window, then back at her. "You let it live. It ain't guilty of his sins. Only carries what you give it." Her face crumpled, but no tears came. She leaned against him, and he wrapped his arm around her, steady as the earth. From that day forward, they stopped hiding. They went into town together, bought food, sat in church. People whispered, but Jonas didn't care. Because sometimes being a man ain't about what you fight, it's about what you choose to hold on to, even when the world says to let go. And now I'll ask you this. Could you? Could you love someone who carried the shadow of another man's sins? Could you raise a child born of pain and still call it a blessing? Or would you turn away, let fear make the choice for you? Because the truth is, the strongest men ain't the ones who draw fastest. They're the ones who stand still, who don't walk away when it's easier to. The ones who protect what the world would rather throw away. If this story found something in you, don't let it go quiet. Hit that like button, subscribe, share it with someone who needs reminding that strength isn't always in the fight. It's in the keeping. And remember this. Even when someone whispers, "I'm not worth saving," maybe the bravest thing you'll ever do is prove them wrong.